While everyone else is playing catch up with the latest N8N tutorials and chasing AI trends like sheep, I'm going to show you why 90% of AI agencies will be extinct by 2026 and what to do about it. The problem isn't that you don't know enough about AI tools, it's that you're thinking like a technician instead of a business strategist. Personally built and sold over $100,000 in AI infrastructure in the last year, but it took getting rejected on at least 100 sales calls to understand the strategy and the framework that actually works. So here's the brutal truth. Soft skills are 80% of the business. AI is only 20%. While your competitors are spending months trying to perfect the perfect webhook configuration and API calls and agent, you should be spending 90% of your time on offer creation, market positioning, and cold email campaigns. The strategic framework is simple. Earn trust, gain deeper access to clients, then architect complete transformation and infrastructure systems for their business, not as a service vendor, but as a strategic partner. And if you understand business strategy, you will win. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to transform yourself from a replaceable technician into a business strategist. So let's dive right in. So this video is about how to be a strategic motherfucker. And there's a couple different components to this, but the first one is you basically have two options. You can focus technically, learn N8N, master implementation, study AI tools, and get very little results and struggle. Or you can take the strategic business path. You can master lead gen, develop sales skills, create compelling offers, understand customer pain points, and build marketing systems that help you scale revenue and profit with very solid profit margins. And so here's what it's going to look like. Don't get stuck in the technician rabbit hole. Instead, you start by being as strategic as you possibly can. The things you need to figure out, and it's definitely possible, all right, to get caught in trying to develop the perfect business plan forever. So that's also a trap. So the strategic person doesn't get stuck trying to figure out their ICP, but they understand the importance of their offer, of the value proposition. They spend time architecting and studying what makes valuable, offers and value props better than shitty value props. And they understand their customers' jobs, what they're trying to accomplish, their pains, the gains that they're trying to achieve. And then they create lead generation systems. And this is the part, this is the execution. You spend time on the offer, yes, and you want that to be ironed out. But most importantly, you need to create the lead generation systems that can help you get that offer in front of people. So this is cold email systems. You're writing campaigns, you're scraping leads, you're sending emails. And then you have a sales process. You're testing copy, you're launching these, you're practicing sales calls. You're doing as many. The goal is to really do as many sales calls as you possibly can so that, after 20, 50, 100 sales calls, you're like, you have it down pat and you know exactly how to do it. Then you're going to be sending out proposals, refining what those proposals are. And then as you do this process enough time, you will close deals. And then you'll start automating and onboarding customers. And so most people never get to this point of onboarding a customer because they get stuck right here. They get stuck in this implementation technician role, and they never actually go down the actual path. This is the path. You start by figuring out who you're targeting, what the offer is, and why it's valuable. And these are like each step. This is each like one step on this ladder. You don't start making money until you hit, step 12. And so you better get good at step 1 through 12 as fast as possible if you want to make revenue, right? And so then once you do that, then you're thinking like a strategist. So then you're understanding and analyzing your P&L, profit and loss statements and profit margins. You're figuring out how to reinvest that income. Maybe you're hiring people on Upwork to help you deliver better. You're, spending money on different tools to help you scale faster, setting up more inboxes and domains on SmartLead. And then with this process, you can basically understand exactly what the systems are and the infrastructure are for these businesses to get crazy results. And you're focused on strategy, not the most technical system. And here's the crazy thing. This is what blows my mind. People think that N8N agents is the future. N8N is just one platform. There's going to be other platforms out there. And if you're good at it, you're going to understand the process of learning. You're going to get better at learning itself so that whenever that new platform comes out, you can learn it in like a day. And then you stop wasting time learning all these new platforms. You just are like, okay, once a platform meets a certain threshold of potential value creation for a client, you decide like, I'm going to invest 5 hours learning this thing. And then what you do is you understand it well enough to be able to delegate it to someone else, and you can hire someone. You can post a job on Upwork and you can pay someone to build stuff for you because you understand the platform. Like I built for the first like 6 to 8 clients that I got, I built it all out. I was in N8N, I was in make.com. I spent, hundreds of hours in these platforms. And now I like just delegate stuff because I'm like, I have a team of contractors that are helping me build this stuff out. And because it's like the value on my time is not worth doing these and building these things manually, when getting on sales calls, creating offers, doing this thing is actually a better use of my time. But I can tell this contractor, hey, let's set up these 3 API nodes, and this one should probably start with a webhook. The agent should have this type of database, and here's the prompt engineering tool. And hey, by the way, I just generated a couple prompts I think we could use for this, and I used Claude to generate a couple, mock workflows. Can you please go and tell me all the OAuth credentials I need to get from the client, and any of the do it better error handling? And so I'm building out like 80% of it using Claude, and then I'm having them do all the error handling so that I can focus all of my time on being as strategic as I fucking can. And that's the thing here. That is what's so crazy is you can do all of these things better: customer research, marketing, copywriting, onboarding, sales, offer creation, proposals, lead generation systems, financial intelligence. You can do all of these better with automation and with AI agents, but where most people fall short is they don't actually know how to do these well manually. So how are they going to automate it well, right? And so your job is like everyone has to go through the grueling process of learning how to do customer research. What are good questions to ask? Marketing and copywriting, probably the most difficult one. I think sales and copywriting are equally as difficult in their own ways. This is just like frustrating to learn, and then sales is just like you have to get over the fear of it. But yeah, it's like if you don't understand the psychology of influence and persuasion and what makes some marketing and copywriting better than others, you can't create an N8N workflow to do it for you because you don't even know why it works in the first place. But this is where tools like Claude and Manus come in, where you can say, hey, Claude, help me understand the principles of marketing and copywriting. Use like first principles thinking and do deep research to help me figure out this stuff. And you can shorten that time gap, but you still have to like manually figure this out. Manually as in like chatting with Claude, or just, read books. I can't tell you how many marketing and copywriting books I've read, and it's paid off. Same thing with sales. And this is one of my bottlenecks, and I've been working relentlessly to get better at it. But I'm like reading books about sales and influence and persuasion and psychology, and trying to understand like what actually is sales and how to actually do it well. And that's the process, right? And then offer creation and all these things, learn how to do them manually and then automate them, and then automate them for other people and hire a team to actually implement it for you. Don't be doing the implementation yourself. And so you can use AI for offer creation. You can use AI for market research. So in the community down below, this is the entire roadmap that we lay out: AI business foundations, email infrastructure. But then you get to module 3, and it's offer creation. It's like, hey, use this prompt, plug it into Claude. Let's actually just show you like market research. Use this prompt, plug it into Claude, and have Claude help you with your market research. Have Claude help you with your offer creation, offer discovery, right? You can use AI to help with these things. You don't need to do it all from scratch, but you still have to do it, and you have to spend your time on this. So I can just say like, take the following role. And I've written this prompt, done a lot of prompt engineering to basically make it so that now it's going to go through this process. If you put extended thinking on, I probably should have done Opus as well to make it even better. It's going to go, and then it's going to ask me a series of questions and try to understand what my unique strengths are. And it's like, okay, what's your professional work history? And so I will say like, in the past, I was a copywriter. I'm not going to be too extensive right here because I just want to show you what this looks like. But all right, that's an advantage. What industries, I could say I worked in various SaaS and tech companies for 5 years. And then after this, it's like boom, and it's just asking me this series of questions. And by the time I finish answering all of these questions, it's going to have like, okay, here are the markets that you're probably most uniquely suited to go target. And then you do the same thing for offer creation. Now, based on these markets, here's the potential pain points and dream outcomes that they want. And here's how you could package that up into an offer based on your past experience, right? And so that's where things get really interesting is you use AI to optimize something that you already know how to do customer analysis, to have business leverage, to have greater growth, right? And sure, spend 5 hours learning N8N, but once you learn a basic amount, stop and don't get into technical complexity. Everyone that I speak to in the community gets into this trap. All these agency people trying to start AI agencies, they're just stuck building out N8N workflows in AI tutorial hell, and they're spending all their time in it. They're getting zero results, and they're just frustrated and stagnated. And so you should be smart and be a strategic motherfucker, and you should focus on the offer creation, market research, and all these things that I talk about that are way more valuable. Here's a time dispersion for you. You should spend 90% on business strategy and 10% on technical implementation. That is the time gap that you want to focus on, right? Because there's really only a few skills that you need to learn in business, and they're really hard skills to learn. But you need to understand, most importantly, customer acquisition. So marketing, cold email, copywriting, and customer onboarding. You need to understand revenue generation. So how do you do lead generation, sales process optimization? How do you create proposals? How do you actually close deals? And then you have offer creation, which is value proposition design, understanding the job pains and gains of your target market, market positioning, campaign creation. And then if you want your business to, if you don't want to, if you want to actually scale it, you have to be strategic with how you're spending your money. So you just have to understand like profit and loss, do some very basic revenue analysis, understand what your margins are. And then this is where concepts like, CAC to LTV ratio come in. This is probably the most important metric financially to target. It's what is your customer acquisition cost compared to your lifetime value. So you can think of this like this. When I'm running cold email campaigns, because I'm paying for all these domains, inboxes, leads, I get 2 clients a month and I spend $1,000. So my customer acquisition cost is $500. But for each client that I get, I onboard them onto a $3K per month project with a minimum 3-month commitment. So that's $9K. And so what is that? 500 divided by 9K is, I can't do that in my head. Or no, it's the other way around. 18 to 1. So you have an CAC to LTV, which is really good actually. This would be a 1 to 18 CAC to LTV ratio, which means that you're making 18 times more money than it costs to get a customer. And when this is the case, anything from 18 to like 50 is great. Anything from like 2 to 10 is not good because your margins won't be very good. Which means that if your CAC to LTV ratio is 1 to 18, you can basically make $18 for every $1 of ad spend, which means that every time you make that money, you can reinvest it back into the business and you can just 18x your investment on whatever that time horizon. So let's say it takes you, but it's a 3-month minimum contract, which means that it takes 3 months to make that 18 to 1 CAC to LTV return, which basically means that on every 3-month time horizon, you can 18x your investment. Because if you invest all of your money, and I'm not going to say there's strategic reasons to not reinvest everything, but let's say like you have 18 to 1. So I just spent $500. I made $9,000. That's an $8,500 gap. Within 3 months, I have an $8,500 profit. I could take the money out, get taxed on it, or I could reinvest it in the business and I could spend it on customer acquisition and try to get 10 more clients by spending $5,000. And then if I get 10 more clients, that's 10 times 90, that's $90,000. And you can see the math here and how this is just cyclical and how it grows on itself. And so this is how you should think about business, really, is how do I rapidly iterate offers? How do I validate markets? 90% of business, and I say offer creation, like these are large topics in and of themselves, like customer marketing, copywriting, customer research, offer creation. These are not small things. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this. So let's say offer creation. What is the process of offer creation? So we want to think about offer creation. There's a couple things that go into this. Or let's say offer Validation. I got the hiccups. So offer validation is a couple different things. It's, rapidly, let me, the size of these fonts is annoying. Okay, so you're going to be rapidly testing and iterating on markets. So ideally you would like test 10, maybe that's a little too much. Test 5 new markets per month with cold email. Then you figure out what works is you're rapidly testing offers, but not only testing the offers, like you're not only split testing different types of AI offers, but you're also split testing how you frame each of those offers. And so ideally it looks something like this. It's you're diverging first. It looks like this. You're diverging, where you start here and then you expand the number of possibilities. So you test more markets, more offers, and then you go and you converge, and then you say, all right, these, out of all of those, these 2 offers worked really well. Now let's split test and optimize and refine how we're positioning these 2 offers. And now we have 2 offers that are validated in the market that we've sold that are doing well. And then that's when you converge again or diverge again. You say, now that these 2 offers are working really well, what are different variations of these offers that we could run? And then again, converge and say, now that we have, and then you do that enough times. And that's the process of rapidly iterating and testing offers, right? Because the more I do this, the better I'm going to know, the more market feedback that I'm going to have. And this is what the term product market fit means. It means you've gone through this process enough times that you've validated with crystal clear clarity that the market wants your product by virtue of them putting their money where their mouth is and actually paying you for it. So, I mean, overall, you could say revenue and the amount of revenue that you're making on a product is how you define product market fit. But you could also have submetrics, which is like the number of positive reply rates on a cold email campaign, the number of sales calls that you've had. If you get a bunch of sales calls for an offer, that means you did something right. If you're not closing any of them, maybe it's because your sales process sucks, not that the offer sucks, right? And so this is a process. And then you're just rapidly iterating. You're making the offer better. You're making the VSL better. You're making the sales call framework better. You're making the product better to try to get referred. Like the better the product is, the more people are going to refer you, and so on and so forth. And so I'm not going to go into this, but you can think of this process works for copywriting. You do this process to get better at copywriting, for ads, for cold email, for everything, for, client relationship management. And the better that you get at all of these things, like, I think this is what blows my mind is people are like, is AI going to be saturated and AI agencies aren't going to be a thing in 3 years? It's like, maybe. Maybe AI agencies become too saturated. But if you understand the principles of business, if you're a strategic mofo and you understand the different components of how to run a business, how to do offer creation as a process, how to do copywriting. Copywriting, once you learn it once, you always have that skill. Sales, once you learn it, you always have that skill. Offer creation, you get the idea. So even if AI agencies aren't a thing, in 3 years, you're gonna have recession-proof skill sets if you understand all of these things. Because no matter how good the AI tools get, you are the one that's guiding them, and you're the one that's doing the strategic work of making decisions, figuring out what things to do, when to pivot, who to speak to, and those things will never go away. I full-heartedly believe, and even if AI becomes not obsolete. Even if the AI agency business model goes obsolete, this is the fundamentals of any business model. And so you'll be able to succeed in, whatever services have product market fit 2 years from now, right? And so that's the essence of it. If you guys found value, feel free to go to this community. We run product market fit sessions, offer creation sessions. We have a bunch of modules. So you like AI offer creation. We do a lead gen for AI offers, lovable, but N8N client infrastructure builds, Q&As, AI vibe marketing. We do, business strategy sessions, live AI systems builds, N8N, if you do want to understand N8N, vibe marketing workshops, you get the idea. And there's a community of people that are learning, that are building these things with you. side by side that are going through these things and trying to figure out how to get over these problems, with the 9-step roadmap as well, of going from business foundations to email mastery to having all the templates to offer creation, email psychology, lead generation. And so if this is interesting to you, its link is in the description. But other than that, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found value at it. And if there's one takeaway, start being more strategic. Stop following the crowd. Start predicting what's going to happen. Like it's not like sci-fi to say like, oh, I'm noticing that everyone's trying to get into AI. Maybe I should be a little bit more strategic. And the better strategy that you do, the more you're able to kind of get a pulse on the zeitgeist and figure out, oh, everyone's relating to AI in this way. So I should probably figure out what works. And there's something in that works. But I probably shouldn't just copycat and do what everyone else is doing, because then I'm going to be in a sea of millions of fish competing for scraps versus being in an ocean of one, which, if you understand business, if you understand value creation, like, let me just put it this way. You want to know how to never have to work a day again in your life? Understand value creation so deeply that no matter what is happening in the world, you have mastered the art of value creation.